of our national anthem, representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, are lit.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Wednesday. We are back in the saddle.
Did you say Wednesday?
Wednesday?
Oh, crap.
Did you say Wednesday?
Yes, he did say
Whoops.
Wednesday.
Whoa.
Hold on, Hey, do-over, hold on.
Someone's cut off. Woo.
Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 4, episode 9, titled Shirley Fischler, Hockey's Woman Pioneer. Oh, yeah, we got a big podcast for you tonight. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Shorts Guy and Scotty of SiriusXM Liquid Metal. Streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Also heard on SiriusXM as well.
We are.
Or at least we were mentioned. Weren't we mentioned on SiriusXM or no?
Oh,
Or was that just
mentioned? Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. When did we start getting broadcast over there too? Okay.
Yeah, Scotty must have missed that email that we were on.
Yeah, I missed that email.
Can you imagine? One of these days, I'm just gonna you take out one of your Comrexes and just feed our podcast in.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, SiriusXM is moving into a lot of podcast territory now, so something to shoot for.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're on the Primetime Radio Network. So tonight, we have a special guest a little bit later, maybe about 10 minutes. We'll roll it. But we want to discuss a few things. But Stan Fischler and his son Simon came on to the podcast. We recorded earlier today because of time zone differences. Again, we can't make Stan Fischler do this live podcast at 4 a.m. his time because he's out in Israel right now. That wouldn't be right.
I got up at 8 a.m. though. I got up at 8 a.m.
Everybody rolled out of bed today.
Yeah, I know. I was like, hey, Stan, I got to go put in my contacts. I'll be right back.
Sam, that, Scotty saying he had to get up at 8 a.m. That was the perfect time for you to play that incredible Hulk music.
Oh. Oh yeah.
Scotty's not a morning bird. Not a morning bird. No.
Yeah, but you performed well today. I mean, we and Beer Baron was there. Now Beer Baron has obligations tonight. What was his excuse? Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is that a commercial holiday?
Yes.
Shorts guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we should have had our own
holiday.
Valentine's Day T-shirts.
Hey, you know what? I would love to have done that. However, oh wait, my MacBook's not working still. I'm dead in the water right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so everyone on the Facebook Live, we're back. Sorry about last week, but I think it was good that we spent time with our families and friends. Actually, that's our tradition here at the Let's Go Devils podcast. When there's a Super Bowl, we take the night off. That's
we're not going to compete with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. So. Well, I guess the Devil season will be starting up soon. A lot more is off the COVID list
This week,
which is good.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
This week.
Tuesday. We got practice tomorrow. Finally, that's pretty crazy that we get one practice in and then we got a game the next night. But actually, I was looking, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but currently on the COVID list, we got Nathan Bastian, Nikita Gusev, Nico Hischier, Dmitry Kulikov, and Travis Zajac coming off. Jesper Bratt, Connor Carrick, Eric Comrie, Jack Hughes, Damon Severson, Ty Smith, Matt Tennyson, Sammy Vatanen, all off the COVID list. So I'm gonna be interested to see who gets the starts on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean, to fill out a whole team, we're gonna have to, have some people coming up.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be interesting to see how they perform in this first game as well. A combination of being off for so long, having one day of practice,
And only one practice.
Bringing up multiple. I'm sure bringing up multiple players from either the taxi squad or from the Binghamton Newark Devils,
Which may be good because Binghamton has been playing.
They've been playing, yeah. So I'm curious what they're going to do as far as if Mac Black's going to get the start or if they're going to let Aaron Dell, who debuted those phenomenal pads the other night. If you didn't see it on the Instagram post for the first time in a long time, we posted on Instagram because the graphics department hasn't had a MacBook. But yeah, those pads.
Don't we have another graphics designer on staff that can fill in?
We do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, he made the logo, but I don't know.
Where's Nikki? Where's Nikki?
Where's Nikki? Call his wife.
Yeah, seriously, Nikki will be our backup graphics department when.
Yeah, we'll have 128 days of graphics in the queue.
Yeah, I think this taught me to have graphics lined up if possible. But yeah, going back to Devils hockey, it'll be good to see Devils hockey again. And then we open up against the Rangers. So immediately get to have a Rangers hate day on Tuesday. So, everyone be on the lookout for potential post-game podcasts for the first time in weeks.
Oh, I know.
Ooh.
It feels like forever since we've been together, like doing those, We got into such a groove, all those post games. Yeah, and then all of a sudden stop. It was just like, huh? What? No post game? What? Huh? What's going on? We can't hang out and talk about. Oh, there's no more game. What? I've been fiending for some Devils hockey. I'm watching
nothing.
I got the Avs and Knights on in the background right now. But I mean, yeah, man. Like I just been fiending for these Devils to come back. Even news. I mean, because they're not even practicing or anything. Like there's nothing going on. Yeah, it's just silence. Silence.
It was like pandemic all over again, where we had nothing for 9 months.
Yeah,
I've been following Rob Lapolis, the Binghamton Devils play-by-play guy. Keeping up, with what they're doing. Been been following Amanda Stein, the Twitter account. Sometimes she has some updates. Corey Massasak and Chris Ryan, but it's all COVID, so it's kind of negative. So we took a bye week essentially, So, but I'm hoping to, all this is. I mean, how many games is it going to be for us? Like 80 games? I'm sorry, 50 games in like 75 days for us?
It's going to be nuts. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to flip-flop, the roster a little bit just for people to get rest, because, I mean, we talked about it before the season with the condensed schedule, getting injuries, but you're just talking about so many back-to-backs now that you're going to have to just flip players in and out. Especially maybe some older guys that get dinged up as they go. I mean, I think this is actually a good thing because I'm ready to see all these kids. I mean, we talked about it, endlessly when we had nothing to talk about. Just how excited we were to see all the prospects finally coming out. If Beer Baron was here, he'd be still singing praises about Mikey McLeod. We know, but some of these other guys too are going to get their chance. I'm really excited to see what Nolan Foote does. Like, the bingo games, I don't know if anyone's checking them out. The AHL TV was doing a free preview for a while. I don't know if it's still, I think it ends this upcoming week. So I think you can still catch like one more of the B Devils on that AHL preview, like the NHL.TV, the AHL version. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. But I fried a lot of brain cells in my day, so I'm not good with numbers. I get numbers mixed up really, really easy. So it was either this past week or this week coming up.
We gotta get an account for the Let's Go Devils podcast amongst ourselves. I should get an account and then stream it illegally to you guys internally.
I already got I got my NHL app. I got the NHL.TV. That's the way I watch out here in LA.
Yeah.
I love that thing, man. It's so good. The features on it are great.
Yeah. Well, guys, let's kind of intro this. We all know Stan Fischler, the Maven. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
The Maven. Mm-hmm.
But recently he wrote an article which got rave reviews all over, about his wife or late wife, Shirley Fischler. And the title of the article is Hockey's Woman Pioneer. And he was going into some stories that were completely untold till now. The challenges that she faced as a hockey writer, hockey journalist. She's written more books than probably in the entire, Professional Hockey Writers Association members combined, at the time. Encyclopedias, hockey encyclopedias, which I actually have a couple of them. And I always wondered why half of them are written by Stan Fischler about each team. And now I know why. Him and his wife worked on it. Diligently. And there were a lot of great stories, and his son, Simon, chimed in, which I thought he was a really cool guy. Really cool guy. Gives a lot of stories, and yes, and I think this story needs to be told, but I also think, and we could talk about it afterwards, I think she also needs some consideration as a builders category in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, what she had to go through, this is a woman that was just trying to do her job, not looking for attention. And this was, the stories are taking place in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, where we'll let Stan talk about it, but in the interview that she wasn't literally not allowed in the press box. Yeah. They literally turned her away for no reason.
Physically prevented from entering.
Yeah. And so we'll start the interview. It's myself, Beer Baron, Scotty, and Shorts Guy. with Stan Fischler, the Maven, and his son Simon. Enjoy. We have a great guest today. He's coming from all the way from Israel with his son Simon, the man, the myth, the legend, hockey historian Stan Fischler. Stan, welcome to the Let's Go Devils podcast. How are you doing this evening in Israel?
We're doing well. We had a lovely day today. Simon and I went for a drive and did some work around the house. It was a very relaxing day, and I don't know how you feel about it.
It's a good day. The day that we can get outside is a good day today.
Absolutely. So the other day, Stan, you put out an article about your wife, or your late wife, Shirley Fischler, and it really struck a chord, I know for me personally, because like I told you before, that it kind of reminded me of what my mother had to go through, way back when she started her career. But you received a great response. Am I correct on that?
Tremendous. Simon can tell you how many, what it was.
Well, he did a large response, both pretty much everywhere where it was put up on Twitter. I think he had close to 177,000 views and a good amount of retweets. I don't remember exactly how many. Sorry. And on my LinkedIn site, it was very, very large. And LinkedIn is usually, you break like 2,000. But it was up above like 5,000 or something.
I think one of the reasons for the outpouring was this. The essence of the story was how my wife was a pioneer. She was the first woman to break the barrier at the Madison Square Garden press box. Women were not allowed. It was amazing to think now that there was a ticket, and on this ticket, it said it said ladies not allowed in the press box. So my wife fought that, and she won. We could talk about the details later. But the other thing about it was that in the article, I mentioned that successful women in hockey now, and I mentioned people like Jessica Berman, who was very high in the NHL. She's now the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League. People who I've worked with over the years, Deb Placey, who did the Devils games, and many other women, particularly those who are still in the business now doing hockey commentary. And I said that they owe a vote of thanks to Shirley. And the response was that, yes, they agree. And something should have been done about it. One person, two or three or four, suggested that she be a candidate for the Hockey Hall of Fame in the builders category, or even in the media category, because as Simon knows, and he can testify, there was a lot of hostility by the males. The males and the Rangers press corps. We only got one out of a dozen. Imagine that. 1 out of a dozen supported her, and that was a rookie columnist in the New York Post named Neil Offen. There was bitter hostility. They didn't want any part of her being in the press box.
Now, Stan, I just want to say, Stan and Simon both, it's an absolute honor, like we said, or when I said when I first met you on here, that to have you on here. It's kind of, we've had some pretty incredible guests. This ranks as one of the top, like, shaking, like, I don't know what to say kind of feelings, because it's an honor. But I have to say, reading that article, it was so beautifully written about your late wife, Shirley, and how she was such a pioneer, but her story isn't really out there. And it's nice to get that story out there finally. But one of the things, and Simon, you spoke about this before we came on, is how she never really wanted that credit. And she never wanted the limelight to be on her, that she was breaking all these barriers. And could you speak to that a little bit of why her reasoning was that she didn't really want that attention while it was going on, while she was, making history in a sense?
I think first off, she just wanted to do her job. That's it. She wanted to do her job. She wanted to be able to get her work done and get her stories out, and to be able to do it just as everyone else was doing it. She wasn't interested in having a spotlight on her. She wasn't interested in making this about her. And I think that's, as I was saying to you guys, it was something that I was always proud of. And I think she also understood that if she did make it an issue, if she did make it about her, that it would be to the detriment of people who would be coming after her, that it would affect those who would be coming next. And she always cared about the game and the ability for all to be a part of it.
She was very determined, and I'll tell you exactly what happened, because she was covering a Ranger Maple Leaf playoff in '71, and she was assigned by a very prestigious Canadian paper to cover it from the Toronto angle. And to get to the press box, you had to go up to a pretty long flight of stairs. And right behind her as a witness was Jim Bouton, who wrote Ball 4, and of course the former Yankees pitcher, and he was a friend also. And when she got to the top, the press box attendant wouldn't physically bar her from coming in. So what did she do? She had to find herself a seat, in the crowd somewhere, with the typewriter, no computers then, with the typewriter on her lap to do the story. And of course, it was humiliating. And Shirley was not somebody to take that kind of nonsense. And she immediately contacted the New York Human Rights Commission. They examined the case. They got people from the Garden. And Eleanor Holmes Norton was the head of the New York Human Rights Commission, and took a day, and she ruled that in favor of Shirley. And then the next time, they had to let her in the press box. Although it was, as I said, it was difficult because she was sitting there among a bunch of guys who didn't want her there.
Basically, that's also my mom had zero problem with that. Though in fact, that would just push her to go, further. That was definitely my mom. Having a bunch of people seething around her because of her presence would just egg her on to keep coming.
She was also a pioneer in other ways that you should know, and I mentioned one in the piece. Shirley and I did analysis for the World Hockey Association team in Boston in '73-'74. I was the New England Whalers, the second year, and we were the first husband and wife team to do TV analysis, which nobody really made a big deal about that, and we didn't make a big deal about it either. We just had fun doing it. And the third way that she she opened the first all-women's bookstore with a friend in downtown Manhattan on West 10th Street. It was called Juna Books. So she got a hat trick as a pioneer. How about that?
Pretty incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And I think we see, hearing her story, this was the 70s. I was born 82. So to hear these struggles, right before I was born, and then here I am growing up with her legacy, seeing, I feel like in the New York market, in the New Jersey market, we've had a lot of strong women involved in the press corps with our with the Devils, we've seen it with Sherry Ross and then Deb Placey. Now we have Erica Wachter. So, she's definitely created a legacy in which she built a lot and she paved the road for a lot of people. But Simon, it sounds like, I got to say, it sounded like she was probably a tough mom to grow up with too, with this tenacity she had. So that must have been a tough one for you as well.
Mom, I'll tell you a story about my mom. I had a teacher named, well, forget about names. I had a teacher, and she loved my brother. She had my brother before me, and she got me, and she wanted my brother, and I was not my brother. And my mom wanted to transfer me out of the school and into a gifted and talented program. And my mom approached the teacher, and the teacher said, "Your son is neither gifted nor talented." And my mom, I won't go into what my mom did, but it finished with my mom, with a, knockout. And that was my mom. She was an amazing person. She was probably the person I was closest to, will always be closest to, except for my, children, because especially, I don't know if you know what I went through with my transplant, but my mom was with me while I was waiting for my heart back in '93, and there were many times when, after I got the heart, when I was ready to give up, and she threw the hospital room around, saying, "If you're ready to give up, I'll show you what ready to give up is." And I quickly got my butt in gear, and she was always amazing. And she showed, one of the greatest things was that she showed me the world. She took me to many places. Like, I think we might have been the first American in Iceland, because Iceland Air was doing this great deal to go to Europe, but you had to stay 3 days in Iceland, and this is back in like '88, '89. But to go to Iceland, and this was my mom, was like, "We're going to go to Iceland because we have Icelandic blood in us." It's like, okay. But that's what she was.
If she was on the championship Devils team, she would be Ken Danico. She was never give up person. And the other thing that she did with me, we put out the first hockey newsletter, a weekly newsletter, the Fischler Report. She also wrote the first column, Shirley on Shinny, for Action Sports Hockey. She was the co-editor of that magazine. And, she had a tremendous list of accomplishments. And as we know, not really acknowledged for it because she didn't see it. She did it because she enjoyed it. And that, by the way, our Simon and I and a partner are doing the newsletter now. It's on a website, right? Yeah. It's on the website. The Fischler Report, the big one comes out on Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have a new thing called Java Jive, which is basically hockey topics that we all write. So, you should know, but you should tell your friends about it.
Well, but she was one of the creators of the Fischler.
Right, right.
You and her, obviously.
Yeah, and she was very, very candid. The other person she'd be in hockey, if you wanted a personality, was Brian Burke. She had the fighting spirit of a Burke, and she would say whatever she thought. And of course, Simon did the same thing with the Capitals. Tell him that story.
Well, you got to tell the story. You're better at telling the stories.
Well, how old?
I don't know, 6 maybe.
6 or 7, and he was already following hockey. His first big game was Devils, the Mickey Mouse game with Edmonton when Chico played that great game, and you were sitting at the glass, so you could tell him about that.
Well, we had met Chico before, no? On the streets.
Around Christmas shopping.
Yeah. And I just fell in love with Chico from the get-go. But the Mickey Mouse game, was an amazing event to be at. I think for me, the most amazing thing was the hat. But I didn't understand the politics at the time of what was going on. That was lost on me. But watching Chico and this is what pushed me to be a goalie. It's what pushed my son is a forward and is the youngest at 14 to make it onto the U18 Israeli national team. And believe it or not, the Israeli national team has had a pretty good history and is got some good players because of the mix of Americans and Russians and Canadians that live in Israel. Yeah, and Bobby Halik coached the team for a while. But my son wanted to be a goalie for a long time, and I told him, no. You don't really want to be equipment. And that was seeing Chico's mask, the cage with because that's when people didn't really have cages. Now everyone has cages, but the cage with the devil sign, I just love that.
I'll tell you how Simon was his mother's son. So I was invited to do a broadcast with CBS in Washington, D.C. There was some major issue then, and they asked me to come down, and Simon was 6, 7, whatever. He had seen games already, and it was a wonderful interview. And it happened to be the other guy who was there was the president of the Capitals, who's still there, Dick Patrick, who was the son of Buzz Patrick, the Ranger player and GM. Dick Patrick, a hell of a guy. And after we did the interview, he said, "Where you guys going?" And I told him we had we want to do the day in Washington since we're here. I said, "We're going to go to the Smithsonian." He says, "I'll drive you over." That was very nice. So we get into Dick's Cadillac and we're schmoozing with him. And then he says to Simon, he says, "So what do you think of my team, Washington Capitals?" And he says, "You need a goalie." but he told him he needed a go. But Dick, being a great guy, said, "You know, you're right." That would be. Got a couple of good goals. Anyhow, that was the way Shirley would have been.
Stan and Simon, thank you so much for coming on. It's an honor to talk to you guys today. And we've been hearing so much of this story of Shirley's story here that maybe people don't know. And in that time, it was a lot different. And hopefully we're seeing the progress today that she is broken down so many walls. But what I want to ask you, Stan, in particular, is back then, seeing your wife getting shut out of all these places, a lot of times by your peers and colleagues, you were saying up in the press room, how do you, as a man, support your wife in that situation?
Well, I certainly was not going to cave in terms of trying to understand these guys. Mel Woody, who covered for the then Newark News, he was a very close buddy of mine. I have a picture in my room of Mel with me and Emil Francis. Hal Bach, who was with AP, he and I co-authored Roger Gilbert's autobiography, Gold, My Life on Ice. I mean, these guys I was very, very tight with. Jerry Eskenazi of the Times, and my wife Shirley and I had dinner at the Eskenazi. We were close. Bach and Woody were vehemently against it, and no question, we lost them as friends. Eskenazi on the fence, as I said. The one guy was Neil Offen of the Post. He did a column supporting Shirley, top to bottom. So the life went on, minus about 9 friends became former friends. But the important thing was Shirley established herself as she's done books. We did the first complete hockey encyclopedia. Macmillan started in with the encyclopedias with the baseball. We did the hockey one. It was Stan and Shirley Fischler. I did about 5% and 5%. That's no kidding around. And she did a couple of. She did an instructional hockey book. She did one with one of the first power skaters. She ghosted a book for this woman. So she did more books than these guys who tried to keep her out. And so she didn't, it actually spurred her on. We did a book every year called Hockey Stars of 1975 and so on. So we did that one. We did a book with Vic Moran, which was the first book of hockey analytics. Nobody could spell analytics in those days.
Yeah.
The book, but Shirley was the one. She grasped it. And we did the encyclopedia. It was the dawn of computers. The hell did I know from a computer? She was behind the whole thing. These were some of the many things that she did.
She was capable of seeing things. She was visionary in that sense. She could see things that were far ahead. Like when Fetisov came over, she was very well aware of the fact that this was going to be an important moment for the NHL and a changing moment for the NHL. Of course, I'm sure you guys can remember that at that point in time, there were lots of people in the NHL that did not want to have Russians in the NHL.
Russian play.
They didn't in boys' jobs, and and my mom saw it completely different. She actually bought a box set of how to speak Russian, which sat and I think collected dust.
I'll tell you something. If sitting here, I'd go into the other room and bring the book, because Shirley went to every single Devil game. Every single game when I was pro. She loved, this is when they were at the Meadowlands. She loved it. And she co-authored with me the book about the Russians coming to the NHL. It's called Red Line. And once again, she did 95% of the work. And just like Simon said, she studied Russian. She was fantastic that way. Fantastic.
Well, and it was with every level of the game, she could see, things that others couldn't see. And I think a lot of, if you were to see my children play, my daughter especially, a lot of what they learned from the early periods that they got to be with my mother before she passed away. Especially my daughter Abigail. Yesterday they played a game, and she the first thing she did was to establish herself by delivering a Scott Stevens-esque check.
I like it.
I mean, she knocked down the female Eric Lindros of that game.
So
Stan, I have to ask you. I mean, we should have started off this interview by asking, how did you and Shirley meet?
Well, it started out one year. I worked in public relations at NYU, downtown in the village, and there were colleagues, and one of them was a gal named Fran Sansalone, who actually helped me with some hockey work. And one day I was walking along the street, and down there they had offices with big windows. And I saw this very attractive woman wearing a brown dress and who worked with Fran. And I pulled Fran aside. I said, who is this guy? She said, my friend Shirley Walton. So what I did was, instead of calling her, I dropped a note and I said, how would you like to celebrate Henrik Vermi Day with me? Well, she didn't know who the hell Henrik Vermi was, but Henrik Vermi was a guy I met on a bike trip across Europe in Holland. And I met he and his wife while we were riding together, and we got friendly. So she didn't know who Henrik Vermi was, but it was like a nice little bait. And she said, okay, and we went out. I actually wanted to take her to the rooftop of a restaurant, but she was in June, and she said, let's go to Washington Park and have hot dogs. And I said, wow, cheap date. This is going to be great. Wife and that's how we met. She didn't know I was into hockey, by the way. She didn't know I was into hockey throughout the entire summer until late September. There was an exhibition game between the Rangers and the Canadiens. This was just before expansion, and that's when the Canadiens had two rookies, Serge Savard and Carol Vadnais. That's when she immediately picked up on her hockey knowledge. She knew more about hockey in terms of the game than I did. She had this great instinct. And of course, I've said this many times, once she got into the writing, because she went to Michigan, so she knew from Red Berenson's team and all that, she became a better writer than I was. And I mean...
she was an amazing writer.
Yeah, amazing.
You know, it's funny that you say the 95-5 comparison, because my wife and I feel like it's a lot of the things that happen around our house. She does 95%, and I stand there and oh yeah, it looks great. And, you know, she could build a house, for crying out loud, and she would do 95%, and I just bring over the nails. So there would be my contribution. But so.
In the Catskills, when I wrote a book called Bobby Orr and the Big Bad Bruins, and it was the right story, right book at the right time. And from the dope we got from that, she designed the house and helped build it in the town of Boyceville, and not far from Woodstock. Another one of her, and she never studied architecture. That's the great part of it.
I think your wife and my wife would be best friends. You know what I mean? Like that's from the same kind of cloth right there. But Simon, I actually have a question for you too. So growing up, you had no choice, but you had to like hockey. As like, you know, you said you got into it at a very early age, but it almost sounds like you would have had no choice either way, because both your parents are so heavily involved in the game. And then Stan, my question to you would be, how do I convince my children to be as into hockey? Because right now they're 4 and 2, so I'm working on it. But
there was either rebellion or there was going along with it, and there was nothing better than running around the Coliseum, Nassau Coliseum, or the Meadowlands, you know, going underneath the chairs, not the chairs, the stands. Those were like playgrounds for me. going up to the press rooms and, just looking down. It was so the game for me automatically became life. And, playing it was tremendously fun. And now coaching it with my children is fun, but aggravating at times. As to how to entice your children into, I'll let him answer that also, but what I did with my kids was just have them watch hockey. The kids have been watching hockey since they were, I think capable of really comprehending anything. And one of their first books, I think, was The Hockey Sweater, which is a kid's book. And that, because look, getting kids to like hockey in Israel is not an easy thing at all. It's basically mostly football and basketball.
I can't remember exactly when. I never pushed the kids into hockey. Well, I did bring them to the games. More Simon than Ben, who was older, 6 years older. Because, when they came to the games, first of all, it was a freebie. And they come in the morning, like I bring them in the morning, so they would be, he would be watching the practice. And there was a lot of freedom then, but particularly at the Coliseum, when Bill Torrey was running the team. It was Bill and Al. It was sort of like a family place. And the kids running around, they kind of got a kick out of him. And but I took them, I wanted them to skate, and Ben became a skater, and then Simon, and he took to goaltending. And I remember that the Concord Hotel in the Catskills used to have a hockey week for quite a while. And I went there with Frank Brown of the News then was with us, or we met him there. And Shirley and Simon came, and he had his goalie pads, and he was taking shots from Mario Lemieux and
Kirk Muller,
Luke Robitaille. We got pictures of that, and he got he got nuts over it. By the way, I should say that when he was waiting for his new heart, when he in the hospital and things were very, very grave, the hockey people, starting with Zella Pulkin of the Devils, he was the first hockey person to visit him. And then, speaking of Brian Burke, he was manager of the Whalers. He sent Sean Burke, ex-Devil, and Jim McKenzie to visit. Came all the way down from Hartford to the hospital on Broadway in 168th, Columbia Presbyterian. The day, which was the day before we found out that he was getting the heart, Rod Gilbert of the Rangers, the hockey people were fantastic. Wonderful fun.
So, Stan, I just want to ask you something real quick. Are you the one that got Shirley into hockey? Because you said before when you met her that she didn't realize you were into hockey until, the end of the summer there. So was she into hockey prior to you? And then after you got her, if you got her in, did you look at her and say, "Oh man, I'm creating a hockey monster here"? Because it sounds like once she got into it, it was like she just went full out. And then Simon, it sounds like you had, two real good analysts to analyze your game. I coached too, and I was a goalie, and I know sometimes parents can, give some tips to their kids. But Simon, you had two pretty good analysts to analyze your game there. So what was that like too? So for the two of you, questions.
Well, first of all, once we went to that exhibition game against the Canadians, I then the season was starting, and she realized that this was my profession, and she got to love it. Now, as we had problems because of the battle at the Rangers. She got an assignment. Here's another example. She got an assignment to do a story for the Toronto Star, which was the highest circulation daily in Canada, about the Ranger wives. And Emil Francis, we were at war with the Rangers. They would not allow. She wanted to talk to Jean Rattel's wife. She wanted to talk to a whole bunch of the wives, and he would not let her. But there was one wife who'd been around, and that was Tim Horton's wife. Tim Horton, the defenseman. He had been with the Leafs for a long, long time. And his wife, Laurie, would not listen to Francis, and she did an interview with Shirley, and that was another great story, made the front page of the Life section. So she got into it because, first of all, she had an opportunity to write. Her older sister was a pretty good writer, but Shirley was able to write her under the table after she got going. And Shirley loved the scene. She was a sport. She was a great, there was a Cole Porter tune with the line, "You'll be so grand at the game." That was Shirley. She was grand at the game. She was, so she became into it when we got the opportunity to run Action Sports Hockey. She and I did it together, and the more she wrote, the better she got, and that was it. That was it. I can't say that I was jealous of her. I would say that I was appreciative because, as I said, when we got that offer to do the Macmillan Encyclopedia, no way, not a chance I would have been able to do it. And the other way, and that's it. That was it.
As for my parents as analysts, my dad was always more laid back. I think it's the same way with with my kids. My dad is far more laid back than I am. I think my son can see smoke coming off of my head when he does certain things at practice or for instance a game on Saturday. But my mom was the one who, would put me in place. And she would, quite often use people in the industry. I think she was the one who quoted Lou with, what was Lou's quote with?
Do what's right and do it now.
No, not that.
That one's a good one too, though.
That sounds like a Lou quote right there.
Promise or talent. Talent
Potential?
means potential.
He hated that word.
Potential means nothing. Because I would always ask my mom, I think I have the potential to do this with hockey. And it was like, just get it done. That's it. And she would always introduce me to people. Like she introduced me to Billy Smith. And before this, she introduced me to Billy Smith. And of course, knowing who I was, she said, don't say anything about, Billy's age. And she introduced me to Billy, and she said, Billy, this is my son Simon, and he's a goalie too. And Billy looked me up and down and said, he's way too skinny to be a goalie. So that was the life that I got from both of my parents, was being in locker rooms and seeing what hockey was really truly like, the side of the game that you don't get to see when you're watching a game, from the bus coming in to the players leaving after a loss, and the look on the face of a player after a loss, when you were winning 3-1 and a team stormed back to beat you. So that was what I got from my parents. It was very helpful.
Well, I mean, we've heard so much, and I already have such a good feeling of just how special a woman Shirley was for the both of you. And Stan, I was wondering, as a husband and wife, you know all of her strong characteristics. We've watched you many years from back in the Sports Channel days and everything like that. What are some of her characteristics, do you think, that rubbed off on you? That we have been watching, Shirley through you all these years and we didn't realize. What do you think some of her biggest and best characteristics that you put into your own life?
Well, she gave me a lot of confidence to do what I was doing. When I was offered my first TV job, which was the 73, 74 season with the Whalers, I had never done TV professionally for money. And when you were a print guy in those days, you hated the TV guys. We felt that the TV guys were below us. Seriously, we were very snobbish about it. And, got this offer, I told her, because we were going to be working together, but also we were going to be apart. There were times when she did a game in Winnipeg, and I had to be in Toronto for the next game, and stuff like that. And she supported me right down the line. And one of the things that we were very emotional. We would get very excited. There were Devil games that we came back from that we weren't happy about, and we had a lot of fun together. The comedian Jerry Stiller was a good friend of mine, and I remember we took Jerry and his daughter to a Devils game, and I was standing down between periods as the players came off the ice, and Stiller was next to me. And I swear, it was unbelievable. He had a funny line for every single player who walked by. He had lived about
Mike Costanza?
They had lived me out of a job.
Simon,
one other thing. We had a memorial service for Shirley about 5 days after she passed away. And a lot of great friends came, a lot of people from the hockey world. Doc Emmerich was there and so on. And Lou was there. Showed up. I don't know how he even knew about, but Lou. And the other thing, this is the other thing, is that Lou used to take Shirley and me out to dinner every summer. We'd either eat in Little Italy or some place, like in Hoboken. And she did something that I would never do, and that is she told Lou how to run his hockey team. But that was Shirley.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's probably the only one that could get away with telling Lou Lamoriello what he should be doing, because usually it's Lou telling everyone else what they need to be doing.
Well, something, a vodka tonic didn't hurt either. Probably drink Lou under the table, but we had
Oh my goodness. I know we're getting close to the end, but I just want to say one last thing to both of you. Thank you very much. But Simon, have you ever thought about writing a book growing up in hockey, like all these incredible stories of running underneath the Meadowlands and the Coliseum, and meeting Billy Smith and getting introduced to the game in such a completely different way?
I am writing something. I am slowly putting things down onto, I can't say paper, onto computer. But yeah, for sure. There's much that I want to get out about her, about my dad, about how amazing. There was something, as my dad was saying, this was before everything really changed, but to be at the Coliseum, I was at one point in time, I set up a toll for the opposing players. They had to give me money to go by.
That's a smart kid.
That, to imagine that happening today, that would never happen. And this was when the game had a kind of almost slapshot appeal to it. It was NHL at its best, but it was still pure, 100% pure. Not saying it's not pure today, but it was pure in the sense that a kid could explore it and run around and feel the game.
I want to ask Simon about writing a book. He is writing for our website now, and he's also doing stuff for the Java Jive. And he's also, I should add, that he's very interested in European hockey, particularly Switzerland. He loves Switzerland. We've been, but he is passionate about Switzerland. And of course, you got one of the best Swiss players on the Devils. Mm-hmm. He's a wonderful player.
Yeah, we got to see Nico play in Switzerland.
Wow.
Before he was a Devil. And that would have been that's another thing. That's yet another thing that I got from my mother. The want to go out on an adventure, and finding European hockey and going to a game. The kids have gone to, I think, almost 6 games in Bern. Going to a game in Bern it's amazing. It's crazy, but fun. Crazy in a very fun way. The only thing that once I was there with all 3 kids, and my daughter Abigail was still pretty young, and there's basically a whole section that's just concrete. You sit on concrete. And the SC Bern team scored, and for a second I lost track of Abigail because of everyone jumping up, and I almost lost track of my heart, just in fear because I some stampeding or something, because they have drums, it's amazing the intensity of the game over there.
Well, thank you very, very much, Stan and Simon, for sharing your story, about your mom, Stan, and your wife. I'm sorry, your wife, Stan, and your mom, Simon. And thank you for having that story told. For those that want to read more stories, you can go to thefischlerreport.com. You can subscribe. You can get Stan's Java Jive. I get that pretty much every day, and you can post in comments within the community. Thank you very much, and hope to have you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was great.
Thanks, guys.
That is the infamous Stan Fischler with his son Simon giving us their time and story of the late Shirley Fischler. One of our best interviews we've ever had on this podcast. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah, excellent. I'd say so. If I can talk, Stan Fischler is one of the biggest names in the game. He is, arguably the hockey historian. He's written a lot about the game. He's experienced a lot of the game over the course of his life. We know him from his time with the Devils, but his time in hockey stretches well before that. So to talk to someone with such a vast knowledge of the game, and then who was also connected by marriage to his, to his late wife Shirley, who was such a pioneer. It's an incredible thing to be able to talk to someone like that.
Well, I think both the Maven and Shirley Fischler should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, I mean, just the pioneer, for women in journalism and just in general. It was remarkable what she had to go through. And just was going about her business, and she wasn't going to take any crap. If you're going to pull some nonsense, blocking her for doing her job, she's going to take care of it and moving on. And with Stan, 8 decades, I think, 8 decades of hockey reporting. It's unbelievable. These are like GOAT type Martin Brodeur like numbers. 8 decades and still going strong. So you can find him on the FischlerReport.com. The Java Jive, comes out daily, and you can subscribe at thefisherreport.com. So, we're very fortunate, very lucky to have him on. He's a hockey's treasure and just so knowledgeable. And I think he's 88 now and still with that mind of his. Always forward thinking, always looking for the next best thing. Scotty, I was kind of turning it over to you. I didn't want to monopolize all that.
I think we said it all there. I mean, she's a pioneer. Go look her up. Go read about her if you don't know her story and everything that she went through. And hear it from the words on a Valentine's Day. Hear it from her husband. Nothing better than that, right there. Oh,
yeah. And also names mentioned like Deb Placey, Sherry Ross, Erica Wachter. Now it's not more than just one name in the press box. Now there's several now, and the game is growing with with everybody. Look at the NWHL. Some of the athletes that participated in Lake Placid, this year, and it didn't go the way it planned. But you know what? Women's hockey is here to stay as well. And I think this is all a good thing, and this is the only way to grow the game, because I think a lot of us would like to say that we would like to see the game grow and get more exposure. Well, it's going to take a team effort, and it's both men and women and people of all creeds and races and all that. The more you get, the more the merrier, so to speak. So, well, guys. Nice to be back after our hiatus, but we'll be back hopefully Tuesday night after the Devils Rangers game for post game. Our Devils post game. I'm looking forward to the trash talking. I'm looking forward to a victory over those pesky New York Rangers. Any thoughts? Going in, I mean, the Devils are, they're going to be very well rested.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
I see that the Rangers haven't moved the needle since the Devils took some time off. I think they're only a point ahead of us at this point. With 4 or 5 games. Yeah.
This is gonna be the craziness at the end of the season. Is that there's gonna be so many teams with games at hand that we may not know the final spots in the playoffs until the very last day of the season. It's gonna be tough down the stretch. And we're gonna see some. We may see some surprises. We may also see some early exits from the playoffs, even though it seems so far away. But if you're going to be, compounding, if you're going to be squishing the season in like this, teams might run out of gas right after the first round. So we'll see.
Yeah.
My final thought though is simple: Rangers suck.
My final thought is two things. One, maybe the only positive out of the Devils being shut down here for a week is it gave time for Nico Hischier to recover while there weren't games going on. So maybe we'll get him in a little bit more than we thought. With that injury, the boot is off. He's out of the COVID protocol. So that's all good news. And maybe, this time next week we're talking about, Nico coming back in the next game or two. And then just horns up, friggin' Snyder Cut Justice League trailer drop this morning. That is awesome. I don't care what anyone says. You call me a nerd. I've said it since like 5 years ago. The Ultimate Edition, Batman versus Superman, is awesome. I don't care. Ultimate Edition, not the theatrical version. And if you didn't see that trailer, whoo, baby. Can't wait for that. That's gonna be, and it drops on my birthday on HBO Max. Best birthday present in quite a long time, right there.
I just final thoughts. Up until this weekend, the Devils were the only NHL team to beat the conference-leading Boston Bruins in regulation. Lose Islanders beat them 4-2 on Saturday, I believe. So when I looked at that, and the Rangers again, I think only have. I should look at the standings. I think they only have 1 point ahead of us. Even though they only have 11 points, 4-6-3, while we're sitting 4-3-2. So we may be able to leap ahead of them after Tuesday night. Well, we'll see you then. Till next time, be safe, drive safe, stay out of the ice, and let's go Devils!